to create offense than maybe he had at earlier points in time. Do you agree, and what's your sense he does that?
I would agree, and I think a lot of that just comes from being confident and feeling better about himself around our group and in the league, and that's just called growing up. And his size, his strength, his ability to protect pucks, we saw that in Calgary in and around the blue paint. I think when he entered the league, he entered as a shooter, and that's still there. He's got an incredible shot when he gets it off, but the other avenues to offense are starting to enter his game, where he can be physical, use his size, and get to the blue paint.
Ryan Nugent-Hopkins said that you guys kind of sat down at the end of last season and talked about his game and getting more aggressive offensively, if that's the right word. He's got on pace for career numbers. How much have you seen that, him putting that to use and consciously thinking offense without forgetting? Well,
I think the numbers reflect that. I think that he has made a conscious effort to get a little more active and a little more involved in the offense earlier, rather than reading it. There is a little more risk in his game, and interestingly enough, with him playing with more risk, there's even more responsibility, so it's a nice balance.
Ken, maybe just a thought on the Philadelphia Flyers coming off of a win, and though they're not that high in the standings, the challenges they present?
Well, there's a lot been made about 10 in a row without a loss. I watched a number of those games in the pre-scout, and many nights they were the better team. They're the top team in the league as far as giving up 5-on-5 goals against, so that tells you something about how well they play and how committed they are to checking. They've gained a little momentum in Calgary, and our task tonight's not easy by any means. We're a team that has a battle on our hands every night. We can't take our foot off the gas. We can't relax. We can't give ourselves a credit or a pat on the back. We've got to get ready to play.
Your PK was better last game, but when you've seen it struggle, is it the system that's being implemented or the players not implementing the system, or a little of both?
Well, I'm sure it's a little bit of both. Systematically it's worked well in the past, but we have made some player changes, so we've tried to look at the systematic part of it as well, and to make sure that we have the right players that can execute in those given situations, and we believe we do. A lot of times the players are in the right spots, but we're not quite getting the job done. A lot of the seam pass goals that are occurring, and there's been a number of them. We're there, but we don't get a stick on it. We don't pick it up quick enough, and the puck gets through, and then it becomes dangerous.
Couple of things. How far away is Sekera? Do you know? I mean, he's practicing and he's doing some battle drills, but when will you actually know?
Well, I had a good talk with him yesterday about how he feels, and the majority of the conversation was positive, and it wasn't all 100% yet. And that tells me he's not quite there, but he's wanting to take more on. He wants to get more involved physically in battles and retrievals for rebounds, that type of stuff. And as his confidence grows in those areas, he'll get closer. I think we're still on the same timeline, Christmas, New Year, somewhere in that range. That's where we're at.
And Larson, will he at least go on the road trip?
We'll see how he is this morning. Earlier in the week, he was going to make the road trip. Treatments, doctor's evaluation, they'll give us the answer to that over the next day or two.
Todd, going back to the penalty kill, I was looking at your numbers recently, and you've actually been really good at limiting the shots against on the penalty kill. Your goals are at a ridiculous rate. So is that, you're not giving up a lot of shots, but they're getting a lot of goals. So is that just the big mistakes that are killing you? Because you've kind of switched to a high pressure that seems to be working to limit the shots. So is it just guys that have one breakdown that results in the goal? Is that what you're seeing?
I don't know if you can paint every goal with the same brush. As I had mentioned earlier, we look at the systematic stuff, and we've tried to make adjustments and changes to fit our group. I do think we've improved in that area, yet the confidence in it wavers, as you said. One shot a penalty kill and it ends up in your net, and that's not indicative of pure goaltending. That's positional. Sometimes that's not getting the clear when we need it. Think of some of the goals we've given up where it's on our tape and we found on the clearing attempt and it's in the back of your net. So the penalty kill as a whole has to still be polished up, and it's got to get to the point where you're extremely confident in it. And I thought in Calgary the other night we needed it early and we needed it late, and it was involved in the game and did a very good job in those situations.
Todd, you've got the fewest power plays in the league. Is that because your team doesn't have the puck as much as it did last year, or you're not forcing the issue where the referee's got all the penalties?
Interestingly, my analytic friends would tell me that we have the puck a lot, that we shoot it a lot, we get it back a lot. You know, so are we intense enough in puck protection situations? Are we going to the net enough? You know, are we getting the calls when we should be getting the calls? Those are all things that we ponder and try and come up with solutions. I'm sorry? Right now it is, yeah.
Just one quick question. Do you approach Laurent Brossoit this week? Have you approached him to have a talk with him? Do you leave that to Dustin Schwartz, or do you just leave him alone and let him?
I left the majority of that to Dustin. I obviously had a quick chat with LB to let him know that he was starting. A lot of times the starting goaltender finds out early in the morning so that they're both prepared, but I let LB know yesterday, and I wanted to show confidence in him, so big night for him.
And lastly, Todd, your 5-on-5 scoring's really improved in the last 6 games. You're 25-13 at even strength 5-on-5. Your fourth line, of course, has really got going. Your top line's going now. What have you seen as a group collectively where suddenly your team's scoring at a really good rate 5-on-5, where early in the year you weren't?
Well, you know, pucks we got a little more puck luck, and I don't. People are going to say, "What the hell's that? What's puck luck? How do you?" Rebounds are ending up on our tape a little bit more. We're doing a better job in the goaltender's eyes than we have in the past. We sustain more offensive time. Our forecheck's been a little bit better. So there's not one area that's narrowed it down. But I think the puck luck, when you compare, for example, doing the pre-scout for Philadelphia, I went back and looked at some of our chances leading up to that game and obviously in the Philadelphia game. Identical chances are going in the net for us now that weren't going in leading up to that game, and that was only 3 weeks or a month ago.